Karen Blixen Museum is a branch of the National Museums of Kenya. It's all about the inspiring story of Baroness Karen Blixen, a Danish author.
Karen Blixen Museum is a national museum in Kenya situated about 19 kilometers from the Nairobi city center.
Karen Blixen is located at Bogani Road, Karen. For those who are using public means, they can take bus number 24 or they can use Gong Road. From Karen they alight and then they take another bus. They alight at Research, and when they alight at Research, the next gate to the Research bus stage is Karen Blixen Museum.
Karen Blixen Museum was once the centerpiece of a farm at the foot of the Ngong Hills owned by Danish author Karen and her Swedish husband, Baron Bror von Blixen-Fink.
She was born in Denmark in the year 1885. At the age of 28, she accepted a marriage proposal from a half-Swedish cousin, Baron Bror Blixen. In 1913, the husband-to-be Baron Blixen came to British East Africa with an idea of doing a dairy farm. But on arrival, he was quickly advised by the other white settlers to do coffee farming and he will become richer faster. And on arrival at Mombasa, they married the next day and they settled in their first farm at a place known as Bagadi. The coffee farm did not do very well because this was a period of trial and error and it was affected by a lot of challenges. The husband lost interest very quickly, and in 1914 again he also enrolled in the First World War, and by the year 1918, when the war ended, he was so much involved in hunting safaris, unlike in the coffee farm. And because of that, there was some alienation and they separated in 1922, later divorced in 1925. In 1918, she met an Englishman by the name Dennis Finjaton. They became very close and later they became friends, where when they divorced with her husband Baron Blixen, Dennis Finjaton moved and started living in this house.
The museum offers visitors the opportunity to step back in time and experience the elegance of Blixen's Kenya.
The reason why Karen Blixen is remembered here is because she interacted very well with the local people. She was living with around 200 families and she was so much concerned about the welfare. She constructed a school for the children of our workers where they were taught basic reading, basic arithmetic. She set aside 1,000 acres of her land for the local people to settle. She acted as a doctor, where when they suffered from minor ailments, they used to come to her house for treatment. She also offered them a job and she used to pay for their services. She used to invite the women to come to her house, and at some point she used to teach them on how to knit. We have a photograph of Karen Blixen with her servants. She had several servants coming from different communities, including the Kikuyu, the Somali, and the Kamba, and her neighbors were the Maasais. When she went back to Denmark, she went with some Kenyan soil, and when she died, she had written that when she died, this soil be mixed with the soil of the grave, and also she be buried under a very big tree, as per the tradition of the Kikuyu prominent people. That's how they are buried, so that was observed. So she always felt that Kenya is where she lived her life. Her boyfriend Dennis Finjaton had a plane crash at Voi and he died. She took the body and buried him at the foot of the Ngong Hills, which are visible from the house. After the burial of Dennis Finjaton, Karen now started preparing to go back to Denmark, and she sold her whole farm to a retired Army Colonel, Colonel Lloyd, and she sold most of her furniture to the late Macmillan, who was building a library for her late husband. She also consulted with the government by then, that's the colonial government, and requested whether it was possible for the local people who are living in her land to be resettled in another land. Then we have the Corona typewriter, which Karen Blixen used to type her letters. We also have this letter, which our first president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, wrote to Karen Blixen in 1937. It's written in Swahili, and he was asking Karen Blixen to remember the people she left behind. Again, I said when Karen left, she did not forget about the people she was working with. She used to remember her servants. She used to send them Christmas gifts, send them letters, and she requested that the money she had after her death be distributed among workers.
The farmhouse gained international fame with the release of the movie Out of Africa, an Oscar-winning film based on Karen's autobiography.
It is in Denmark where Karen went and concentrated on her career of book writing, where she wrote a total of 9 books. Then in the year 1939, a famous book, The Book Out of Africa, was published. And this is the book which made her very famous, especially after the launch of the movie Out of Africa. This is the showcase where we are showing some of the books which were written by Karen Blixen. Like in the first part, we have all the books which were written by Karen Blixen, including the Book Out of Africa and the Babette Feast, which were turned into a film. And when you look at the books, you realize they have a pen name. Karen, during that time, female writers were never recognized, and Karen had to be wise enough and use different pen names like Isaac Dinesen, Pierre and Rizal, and Osiela. We also have now this photo with Arthur Miller, Marilyn Monroe, Carson Maculas, and Karen Blixen when she was in the US marketing her books in 1959. Then in the second part, we have Karen Blixen's book about flower arrangements. It's titled Karen Blixen Bloomstone. And then we have a photo of the movie stars, Robert Redford, who acted as Dennis Fingerton, and Mary Streep, who acted as Karen Blixen. Then in the last part, we have Karen Blixen fame and recognition, where her fame is seen in this museum in Kenya, which we call it Karen Blixen Museum. A house in Denmark was also turned into a museum, which is called Karen Blixen Museum. Then we have a case of the movie Out of Africa, and then we have 2 postal stamps of Denmark, which Karen Blixen portrait appeared, and a Danish krone, in which also Karen Blixen portrait appeared. Karen was also a very talented storyteller, an artist. She painted from nature, and she was also a gifted naturalist.
The house has been lovingly restored, its spacious rooms furnished with pieces that once belonged to Karen herself.
We have Karen Blixen's paintings, especially the painting of Abdullahi, who was a Somali boy, a cousin to Farah, who was Karen Blixen's manservant. Karen educated this boy here in Kenya. He became a lawyer, and later when he went to Somaliland, he became the first judge. Karen also painted Jerry. Jerry was considered to be the most beautiful girl in the farm. And because of Karen Blixen's love to Jerry, people nicknamed Karen Jerry Wahunga. In the showcase again, you'll also see a group photo of the traditional dancers who were at one point at Karen Blixen compound. And during this traditional dance in 1928, 1,000 people were in this compound. Then we also have some sculptures of Harlequin and Kulubin, who were great dancers in Europe by then. This is a living room where Karen Blixen used to entertain her guests using stories. And in this living room, we have different artifacts. We have this bookshelf, which was made by Karen Blixen for Dennis Fingerton when he came to this house in 1925 to keep his books. And when he died, Karen put these 2 brass plates, this one and the other one, with the initials DFH. The books in the shelf were donated by Universal Pictures during the filming of the movie Out of Africa. Then we have these 2 ship lanterns. Karen had a friend by the name Beckley Cole, and the 2 had a wish to purchase a ship to be sailing between Denmark and Kenya, Mombasa. And they did not raise enough money, and Karen felt that when she came across this ship lantern, she felt that it will work very well with the ship, but they did not have enough money. So she came with them in this house, and she used to put each of them on the veranda concurrently when Dennis Fingerton was coming to the house. Like the green one meant that Karen was in good mood. The red one meant that Karen was not in good mood. At the farthest end, we have the famous Cuckoo Clock, which used to entertain the local children when it made the sound cuckoo, and they used to come running to see the bird coming out of it. We also have furniture which belonged to Karen Blixen, a telephone which Karen Blixen came with when she was coming to Kenya, but on arrival she realized there were no telephone lines, so she could not make calls. There is also a mantle clock. There is also a safe which was used by Karen Blixen, and a map of the 6,000 acres of Karen Blixen farm. On this other side is we have this French folding screen, and this is what Karen used to tell stories to her visitors. Whenever she had a visitor, she could ask the visitor to sit on this couch or sit on that chair, point a scene from this, and then a story would come from there. She was very talented in storytelling. Each wall hanging has a different story. Like the first one here is about the story of Abraham and Isaac. We also have, this one is talking about a student. Then we have the other one about a lady in the kitchen. And when you look at the photo of Karen Blixen seated in this room, on this other side, you can see the real arrangement of this room. From there, you go to Karen's bedroom, where she used to do her personal reflections, and we have our personal items, including the cabinets she used, our photos, and then from there you go to the Baron Blixen's bedroom, because they use separate bedrooms, which was later occupied by Dennis Finjaton. And in this bedroom you'll find a gun rack where they used to put their guns, a binoculars case, and a Louvington chest, which Karen came with when she was coming to Kenya in 1914, and also another trunk, some wardrobes, and in the wardrobes we have the attires which were worn by the movie stars Mary Streep, Robert Redford, and Maria Close. Robert Redford acted as Dennis Finjaton, Mary Streep as Karen Blixen, and Maria Close is Baron Blixen. And opposite it is the bathroom with a tin bathtub and a ceramic basin and jug. And from there now you go to the dining room, where she used to welcome our guests. She welcomed different dignitaries, both local and international. Local including Chief Kinyanjui Wagathirimu, international including an Indian priest, and the Prince of Wales in 1928, Prince Edward VIII. And on the table we are showcasing the menu which was served to the Prince of Wales, which was prepared by our cook Kamande. And we have some of the utensils which were used during that time, including the coffee grinders and a meat grinder. We have the spices containers, butter pads, the knife sharpener, the sieve, the bottle cleaner, and the spatulas. Then we also have the jars and a teapot, and those two wooden socks dryers, which Karen Blixen used to dry her socks so that they don't lose shape. Then we have the shelf for utensils and the cupboard. And then we have a photograph of Kamande the cook. This is the stove they used for cooking. They used firewood. And then there was a chimney. There was a pipe around this area. And an iron box which they used to press cloths. They used to put it heats up, and then they start the pressing.
The museum house has a serene environment surrounded by a tranquil garden and indigenous forest.
These palm trees are very unique, and Karen bought them in South Africa when he was coming back to Kenya, and she planted them here in 1917. We have their uses, they are ornamental.
The museum has a splendid view of Karen's beloved Ngong Hills.
These are the millstones which Karen used to sit here every early morning as she treated the sick people. When Dennis Finjaton was alive, they also used to sit on these two millstones as they watched over the Ngong Hills, especially in the evening when they were taking their last smoke. So the local people used to come and line up here for her treatment, and Kamande the cook could also help her in getting the drugs from the house and assist in administering the drug as per Karen's instructions.
The house's architecture is typical of late 19th century bungalow architecture, including the spacious rooms, horizontal layout verandas, tile roof, and stone construction.
This house was constructed in the year 1912 by a Swedish engineer, Ake Sojgren. He used the finest materials he could find, and Karen moved in it in the year 1917. She lived in it until 1931 when she moved back to Denmark, and she never came back. And the house was opened as a museum in the year 1985, 100 years after the birth of Karen Blixen. After that, public were allowed to come in and see the house of Karen Blixen and also the artifacts which she was using. Apart from the house, we also have some farm tools which are period pieces. We try as much as possible to maintain everything as original as possible. We don't add anything, we just preserve the objects, the house, the way it was. Sometimes we do renovations, but we are very careful and we use experts to make sure that we don't change the originality. We don't bring new materials in, we just use what we have.
The grounds may be rented for wedding receptions, corporate functions, and other events.
We also have the beautiful lawns, which can be hired for events like weddings, corporate events, team building activities. We also have a nature trail, which is an indigenous nature trail, a tropical rainforest, which is very intact. And we also do a lot of school programs for school kids. As a learning institution, I said we do have public programs for different categories of learners. And when they come here, they use the resources available to supplement what they are taught in the curriculum. To the local people, we allow them to use our beautiful grounds for different functions. And apart from that, we also allow them, especially the artists, to display their artwork for sale. Karen Blixen Museum, we do a lot of events as per international marked days, and one of these is the International Monuments Day. This year, 2022, we are planning to celebrate this on the 14th of April. And the reason why we are celebrating on the 14th is because this day is falling within the Easter holidays. We want to invite different stakeholders to come, especially the artists, people who are doing activities which are related to Karen Blixen, artists, storytellers, authors, to come and display their work here at the Karen Blixen grounds as we commemorate, and allow the public to come and listen to the story of Karen Blixen. They learn about Karen Blixen, they learn about the environment, they learn about the nature trail, and have an opportunity to buy souvenirs from what will have been exhibited by the different stakeholders.
The museum is open to the public every day, including weekends and public holidays.
We receive over 55,000 clients annually. Time has come to tell the local people that this is your facility, this is your heritage. Visit and learn about this wonderful story about Karen Blixen.
Guided tours are offered continuously.
We have guided tours, and we do the guiding tours free of charge. What you only need to do, you get a ticket, and then you get a guide who will take you through all the various attractions, and by the end of the day, you'll have enjoyed the tour. You can also find us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter. When you go, you can also find us in the website of the National Museums of Kenya. We have a telephone line which is throughout. We also have an email address, that is karenblixen@museums.or.ke. So you can find us all over, and whenever you send an inquiry, if it's a phone call, it's answered immediately. If it's an email, within the course of the day, you'll be answered.